my discussion for our final. So the first topic was the that I discussed was the project scheduling tools. So project scheduling tools are utilized to present the critical timelines of the project at hand. Um, Project teams are able to visibly see the path that the project and their deliverables will be on. So again, that'll be helpful for them to see how they need to navigate throughout the project. And for as an example, I utilize um, the again I say it wrong, the net chart as an example of a project scheduling tool that's been used within project management teams. Uh, that chart can be created within, for example, the Microsoft Project software. Have and as a question, because I said, have you ever utilized a project scheduling tool within your projects? Because I actually, as a project coordinator, I haven't had the luxury. I've actually only had the chance of utilizing project scheduling tools. Well, as far as creating it, I'm sorry, in Microsoft Project for this course. I actually will want more experience within creating it because I can see how useful it is, especially because I'm a visual learner, and it's you're able to see certain what I learned from using Microsoft Project. You're able to see the critical pathways of like the milestones um, for the deliverables. So you're just able to see what's important as far as, well, not what's important, but as far as, well, yeah, I guess what's important as far as what deliverables need to be completed consecutively versus like ones that can be completed on its own. So I just want to ask you guys, have you ever utilized a project scheduling tool within your workplace?
Uh, Personally, I haven't used it, but
Oops.
I have gotten the opportunity to like review the schedule
Mm-hmm.
with the PM, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because like with my company, I'm the ISSO. So
Mm-hmm.
although I'm not the project manager, but I'm kind of will be leading the system through it, ATO. So the PM will use the tool to, and he, I believe, is the Gantt chart that he's using to give the visual representation, and I'll kind of help him to like, maybe we could finish this task within 3 weeks. So you should go here, and this
Mm-hmm.
task will depend on this. So this will come before this. So he does it, but I kind of give my input to where it should go. And I really, it's really a helpful tool. It's really a good tool to use.
I know, I definitely agree. Again, it's funny because I was doing scheduling for my when I was a project coordinator, and I'm just surprised that I wasn't utilizing this tool because I feel like it just can be very essential for visual learners because again, I'm the type of person I need to see what I'm like going to be doing. I need to physically see it. So I think it's very useful. But no, that's a great example. No, thank you.
Right.
I think me personally, I think because I'm a dev, I don't do much project planning, but I would assume the upper level people that have projects have use those tools like Gantt projects, and then once they have a schedule, they just send it to me and have a designated deadline. So I think probably like the project managers do use those tools, I think, but because I'm such a junior, I don't do much planning yet. So like I think once I'm a senior and stuff, I think I'll start probably using those tools just to plan out different phases of the project.
No, I definitely get that because again, I hadn't had the luxury of using it either. Again, it's something that I learned in this course about, and I
Mhm.
feel like because I'm in the I'm not sure about the programs you guys are in for UMGC, but I'm in the IT project management program. So I feel like I am
Okay.
learning a lot of different concepts as far as different software and tools that are being utilized within project management. So this is definitely something. Once I get to the point of being a project manager, I
Mhm.
definitely would utilize that, and I feel like it's an essential tool to use, which kind of I guess would lead into my next question. I'm not gonna say have you. I would just say would you ever utilize a project scheduling chart within a project?
Yes, yes,
Um,
most definitely. Yes, most definitely. Because, like you said, you are like a visual learner, you might have different people learn differently in the team. Another tool that my PM has used is like the PET diagram, PERT. I
Hmm.
forgot the acronym for that. And it's little bit different from the Gantt tool because that one is uses an arrow to
Hmm.
show the direction of the project. So it's like you have this task or this requirement, and you will use the arrow to direct. When this is done, we are going to this phase. And if there are multiple requirements that needs to be done before the project moves to this phase, the arrows will be pointing to all those requirements, and then it
Hmm.
will lead you to the next phase. So it's my PM has used that tool also, and it's really good for like complex or when you have like a big project that have different phases.
Hmm.
So I would
Hmm.
definitely use it. Although I'm not a PM yet, but hopefully someday when I get to that level, I'll definitely use it.
Yeah, I think I definitely would use it for like my personal projects because
Hmm.
I kind of just bulldoze through a lot of projects without any planning. So I feel like
Hmm.
a Gantt chart would help me stay structured and basically allow me to estimate times on how to build stuff. So that way I'm not like pushing through and like finishing things like longer than expected in a sense. Like I have a better timeline for each project.
No, I completely agree with you guys, and I definitely, like I said, I'm not there yet either. But once I become a project manager, that is definitely like project scheduling tool is something that I definitely the charts I would definitely utilize. And that leads me into my next slide where I was talking about the pros of the net chart, where I feel like the pros, where it provides a high level overview of the project timeline. I'm sorry, it's visually appealing and easy for the project team to understand. Helps ensure that the project team is utilizing their time wisely for the project, and it makes complex projects easier to understand. And then, as well as, even though I feel like this chart is useful, there's always cons that go along with um,
Hmm.
anything. So,
Hmm.
the cons I would say would be the setup time. It can be time consuming. They can be complex and confusing if it's for a large scale project with many tasks. And it doesn't designate priorities. So, which deliverables aren't necessarily like the prioritizing on which one's more important than the other. And that leads me to my next question. When do you feel that this chart could be utilized in a project in the real world? I'll start with that question first because there's two.
Like in a real world example,
Mhm.
yeah, this chart we've used it to develop a system through its ATO, like RMF process. Right, and like it says, it doesn't designate a priority. So although it wouldn't give what is more important than what, but with
Mhm.
the RMF process, we have phases like step 1 to step 7. So although the tool is not giving a priority to the steps, with experience, we know we need to get step 1 done before we can move to step 2. And
Right.
the ISSM need to approve step 2 before we can move on to step 3. And we need to do the control implementations like vulnerability testing, scanning in step 4, all that before we can submit the package for the ATO. So although the tool wouldn't give prioritization to the steps, with experience, we know what tax is depending on what tax. You know what I mean? So
Mhm. Yeah.
it's really a helpful tool that like I said, my PM is like what he's using like with most of our systems.
Okay.
And then, I guess, could you repeat the question again? It's about the
Oh,
disadvantages of
uh,
Gantt charts?
well, I just was asking, when do you feel that this chart would like could be utilized in a project in the real world, if you have, and if not, just
Oh,
when do you feel like it could be?
I guess like any project, like in a sense, like I feel like a lot of projects they need a project tool just to plan out different phases of it. Otherwise, the project gets messy and there's no
Hmm.
designated timeline. So any type of project that has deadlines or needs customer feedback, a Gantt chart is really good to use.
No, I completely agree. And like I said, I didn't really see, like, I was reading about it, but it wasn't until I actually did it in Microsoft Project where I was like, after I finished, I was like, this would be very useful in a project. Like, I can
Mhm.
really understand why this tool would be a necessity within one. And the second question I have, well, I said, how essential do you think this tool is to completing your project?
Oh, okay.
I said, I feel like it is essential, but I feel like project scheduling charts are. I just feel like it's always good to have a visual so you can have an understanding because talking about it versus actually seeing it, I think it'd be better just to have the both of like visibly and verbally talking about a project.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Because I feel like if without visualization, it's hard to see. Because like
Hmm.
it's so much yeah, there's a lot of words. Like you could have documentation, but it's at least for me, especially, it's so much easier if there's like pictures or like designs involved, so I could see
Hmm.
what's actually being made or what's being designated. Because if it's just words, it takes a lot of more brain power for me to understand what's going on.
No, I get that. I'm the same way. Do you have anything else to add? Can we go to the next slide?
I think we're solid. Eric, are we good?
Yes, yes, we're good here.
Okay, let me go to the next slide. And the next slide, I'm talking about the initiation phase of project management. So it is the beginning of the project cycle. This is where the project is defined. I'm so sorry, defined and evaluated. Clarify. I'm sorry. Clarifies the project scope, objective, and constraints. Um, and this leads me into my first question, which is how essential do you believe the initiation phase is within a project? And for my answer, I feel that it's the beginning. So it's important to start off on a good foot. So having an understanding of the project and um, like I said, what constraints and like the overall goal of the project is essential, especially leading into the planning phase of a project life cycle.
Yep, I totally agree. I 100% agree. I believe the initiation phase is one of the reasons why we usually have like kickoff meetings,
Mm-hmm.
and the objective is to like go over the project,
Mm-hmm.
identify the goals, objectives, what will be the scope, like what will be the ins and out of everything, and if that understanding is not there, everything is just going to be a try and error, and you don't want that, especially in information systems. So it's really important to get that initiation phase like squared away. When you have that, and I think you
Right.
have a solid foundation, you will be able to build a good project.
I completely agree with that point.
Yeah, adding on to that, yeah, I think I guess for like the initiation phase of the project is
Mm-hmm.
pretty important because it just starts it starts the planning of the project, so you know
Mm-hmm.
like what the pros and cons of building out the project or like what issues you could potentially um, occur. But in a sense, planning is always important when it comes to project management.
I completely agree. And have you all ever? Because I haven't had the luxury of this, but have you ever been a part of an initiation phase of a project? If not, um, how would you plan for this phase?
Um, I haven't been part of the planning, but I have coordinated like a kickoff meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically like we are discussing what the project is about. Like for instance, the systems that we are retiring, and what we need to do is why are we retiring this system?
Mm-hmm.
what is the functional capability of this system? How is it going to affect the end user or the customer? And we need to involve the technical teams so that like we can identify everything that could happen, the like its side effect. When we get that through the initiation phase, then that will give us the scope, a good idea of the scope of the project. Like, what can we do to minimize all this risk or the vulnerabilities as we are retiring this system? So once we get that in that phase, we will be able to, should I say, be in a cruise control for the
Hmm.
remaining the phases. But if we are not able to identify the purpose of this retirement and the functionality of the system and the new system that we are moving the resource into, is it able to provide the same capabilities to the end user? If we cannot meet, if the new system cannot provide that, then there's no need, or if we retire this, we cannot really support the customer because we wouldn't have any system to take up that functionality. So the initiation phase is really a huge step, and having those meetings to iron out and straighten out all those doubts and unknowns is really a good step in the right direction.
Hmm.
Yeah, no
Next,
problem.
So,
I was actually talking about the project charter. Um, so during the initiation phase, it's important to create a project charter. The project charter shows that the project is being initiated and the overall goals of what will be completed from the project. So I guess just to your opinions, how important do you feel the project charter is for the success of a project?
it's very important. It's very important. Like today, for instance, we need to brief executive like where we at with our project, and we need to
Hmm.
present to them with like a roadmap, a milestone. When will it
Hmm.
be done? And fortunately, the PM used a project charter and a scheduling to let them
Hmm.
know a team could get this task done within 4 weeks, but there could be plus or minus 2 weeks based on unforeseen situations. So I really think it's really good to use this project charter when you are planning for your project, because that kind of give a clear picture and you get more insight and visibility into what you are doing. And I think it's really helpful.
Yeah, I totally agree. Because like a project charter basically is a very like a document that has everything that entails of the project. So like because like a
Hmm.
lot of people forget, especially in meetings, when you have a lot of meetings, you're not gonna remember everything that's being said. But if it's documented in
Right.
a project charter, you'll be able to have like access and figure out what needs to be done.
Right, right.
I completely agree with that. And I guess because I had the question of, do you guys believe that the project charter is needed to create the project plan? Because I feel like it's needed because again, it's that documentation that this meeting happened, and as you've gone over the specs of the project, I feel like the scope. You need to understand the scope to understand how to plan to navigate throughout these deliverables that need to be completed.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh.
that's true. Because like I feel like especially in the initiation phase, I think both will probably be needed for both the project charter and the
Mhm.
planning itself.
I agree.
But okay, great. So overall, I feel that within this course, I would. Sorry, can I start that over? I didn't mean to go to that. It's weird on my phone. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, it's all good. We can edit all of this, so you don't have to be perfect. It's fine.
My apologies. Yeah. So overall, I feel that within this course, just understanding, I would say, what's needed within a project, as well as the useful tools that could essentially help the success of a project, because even with
Mhm.
the following, I've taken, because I'm towards the end of my master's program. So with all the project management courses I've taken, I feel like it's just important to understand the software tools, concepts, just so that for, especially in IT project management, because the projects I feel like in IT are complicated. So I
Mm.
just think each project is different, and just understanding how to complete a project, and what I would say what I'm sorry, understanding what is essentially important aspects of a project is essentially how you end up completing it to the highest quality for a client. So I just want to thank you guys for just going over your real world experiences, and even going over goals that you have within your career, because they're similar to mine. So just thank you for discussing these topics with me, and I really appreciate it.